We've had a weekend of drone attacks on Kiev. Police say in last night's attack, the city's 17th this month, one person was killed and 13 were wounded. Civilian cars, structures and residential buildings were among those hit. Moscow also say they were attacked. Air defences shot down several drones as they approached the Russian capital, Russian officials say. But of course, this hardly compares to what's happening over the border. An advisor to President Volodymyr Zelensky has denied claims that Ukraine was responsible for those drone attacks in Moscow. Live with us this morning, the Ukrainian Member of Parliament, Lesia Vasylenko. Morning.
Morning.
First of all, on the attacks that are still happening in Kiev, it sounds like last night was particularly bad.
It was indeed. The air raid starting at around 2 a.m. went on for hours. It was a very much sleepless night for most of the capital, whether people opted to stay in their houses or seek shelter in undergrounds and basements. Regardless of that, it was pretty much a sleepless night. There were a couple of hits to residential buildings. Civilians' cars were hit. Today, the whole city is blocked by huge traffic jams as the local authorities are cleaning up the debris from the Shahed drones that was shot down through the night by the air defense system.
Has the way that Ukrainians and Kievites respond to this actually changed? I mean, looking at some of the pictures online this morning of what was happening in metro stations underground, everyone seems on the face of it calm.
Well, this is our reality. 461 days of this absolutely dreadful, completely abnormal reality have its consequences. I can't say, I mean, I stayed in my apartment. I didn't budge, but I wasn't sleeping. And all through the night, the thoughts were of anxiety. I can't say that I wasn't afraid. Most of the thoughts were just hoping and praying that the drone that you hear in the background will not hit your house, will not hit your car, which is parked just downstairs. And it's just taking chances every night and every day, and in the morning waking up and realizing that, okay, it's good that I'm still alive, but also realizing somewhere in the compartments of your brain that this was a huge risk that was taken by you, by your family over the last night for not going down into the shelter. But it's also an option, it's the choice between having a sleep, although very much restless, or going down to the shelter and not sleeping at all.
What about the situation in Moscow? We know that there are a number of drones which were flown into Moscow with explosives on them. Some were intercepted by air defense systems. Some actually struck their targets. Do you think that this is Ukrainian retaliation or a Russian false flag?
Well, we've had Russian false flags before. In any case, it's nothing even close to what Ukraine and Ukrainians are suffering on a daily basis. You were right in saying that this is the 17th attack this month alone. So this means that every other day, if not every day, we have air raids and we have targets hit, and mostly these are civilian targets. And the most risk bears when we realize that Russia is trying to send their missiles and their drones to the nuclear power stations located in Ukraine, and when we have information that provocations are being started at the nuclear power station of Zaporizhia, or that at least they are being intended by Russia. Because this means that the risk is just unthinkable if we're going to be at the brink of a nuclear catastrophe. It's a whole different kind of damage, it's a whole different kind of consequences that we will have to endure here in Ukraine, but also beyond.
But what about Moscow? Do you think that actually the city is fair game for attack? That there's been some journalists quoted in Moscow saying that it feels like the war is getting a lot closer to the capital, closer than it ever has felt before in Russia. President Zelensky's advisors have denied that Ukraine was involved. But should this be the kind of thing that the Ukrainians should be doing if they have the capability to do it?
To be honest, our interest is in defending our land and in pushing the Russian military out from the territory of Ukraine. This war will be over when all of the territory of Ukraine and all of the people of Ukraine are again returned under the Ukrainian flag and are allowed to live a peaceful, long-standing life under the Ukrainian flag. This is what we are fighting for, and this is what we have the resources to fight for. We do not have more resources to spare to launch attacks onto Russia, onto Moscow. I mean, you make the the decision whether you want to call it a false flag, provocations, or whatever. But at the moment, Ukraine is fighting for its own livelihood and for the existence of its people under the Ukrainian flag.
Lesia Vasylenko, Ukrainian Member of Parliament, thank you for your time.